Hey there, it's Darcie Clark with you today to walk you through a practice to help loosen up some tension in the neck, the shoulders, the chest, and the upper back. So this is a practice that you can do seated in a chair if you prefer, if you can get to the ground, and if you have a couple of blocks or something that you can use in place of blocks like big books or even a big cushion. We're going to be sitting so that the hips are elevated on that support. So you might also want actually like a blanket or something to cushion under your shins, because you're going to come up onto your legs like this with your knees bent. So if you have trouble with your knees, if they can't bend very easily, or if you feel a lot of tension in your thighs or in your ankles, try to have two blocks and you place them between your feet, and you can sit up on that nice high support. And if this isn't enough for you, then I suggest just coming into whatever comfortable seated position you like, whether it's on the floor, whether it's on the chair. If two blocks is a little too much, you can let go of the one block. If one block just isn't quite right, it's kind of the Goldilocks of finding your best position. You can even turn the block. So I've got the block like this, so turned up on its side rather than on its shortest edge, so that there's just a little more support. And you can have it nice and wide, so rather than sitting on it, where it's narrow, you want it nice and wide so both sitting bones are supported. Okay, so finding that position with your support between your feet, you want your toes pointing back and your knees pointing forward. So this is a nice way to elevate the hips that allows the spine to find more length more easily. So often when we sit on our bums, like when we've got our legs straight or even cross-legged, we tend to round the back a lot more, and it's a lot more difficult for us to find length up the spine. So sitting on a bit of elevation with the knees bent just decreases some of that strain in the hips and in the lower back. All right, so just take a moment and try to find your sitting bones resting on the support under you. You can rest your hands first on your thighs. And let's just begin with a little bit of pelvic tilts. So breathing in as your pelvis rocks forward, and then breathing out as the pelvis rocks back, and just doing that a few times just to feel and find where your sitting bones are. You can feel them rolling forward and back. And then try to position yourself so you're right on the very tips of your sitting bones. You're neither forward of them, arching a lot in the low back, nor are you behind the sitting bones and rounding and sort of collapsing into the chest. So you want to try to find where you've got some more length up through the lower back, through the waist, and a little more width and lift through the chest without feeling uncomfortable. So try to get as comfortable as you can here. And then let's go ahead and find a little movement in the arms. So we're going to interlace the fingers together in front. Stretch open through the palms forward. And as you do this motion, just check in that your shoulders haven't also rounded or shrugged up. So see if you can keep the spine and the shoulders from moving a whole lot. And then just lift the arms overhead, or as far as high as they can comfortably go. And then from here, bend the elbows. That's it. Try to keep your palms facing up as the elbows bend and point out. And then press up again through the arms. You might feel some stretch there into the sides. And then sweep the arms wide and down. So this time, let's interlace the fingers the other way. The other thumb on top, other baby finger on the outside. It can take a little while to find that. And then again, push out through the palms. Check in with the shoulders, the neck. Try to keep it right above the shoulders as your arms lift to wherever they go, as high as it's comfortable. Then bend the elbows. Feel the elbows stretching back, pointing away from each other. Yeah. and then push up again through the hands and release the arms. So let's keep that going. You can go at your own pace, interlacing the fingers, pressing forward and then sweeping up, bending at the elbows, pressing the elbows back a bit as they bend, and then stretching up and releasing down. Interlacing the fingers together the awkward way, pushing forward, sending the arms up, bending at the elbows. That's it, stretching up again through the arms, and then releasing down. Let's go for another on each side. And just keep checking in with your neck and with your shoulders, trying to let go of any tension that creeps back into those areas as your arms are moving. Nice. And then let that go. All right. So from here, just feel and find the length of your spine. So try to let the crown of your head lift straight up more towards the ceiling above you. That's it. And try to bring your ears so that they're right above your shoulders. So often when we sit, we carry our heads, and even throughout our day, moving around, we carry our heads forward of our shoulders. So see if you can bring the head a little bit back and feel a little more length come into the neck, a little more width come into the chest. And then as you're here, let's shrug the shoulders towards the ears and then let it go. So you can feel that with the breath if you like. Breathing in to shrug. Sighing it out if you have the space around you to do so. Breathing in and letting it out. And again, shrugging the shoulders and letting them go. One more time to shrug up and release. Sometimes when we bring in more tension into the shoulders by shrugging and then let them go again, that actually helps to let go of some of that tension we may not even realize was there in the first place. Okay, so now bring your arms out to the sides. Let's turn the palms to face up and then take your hands, your fingers to touch the shoulders. So with your hands, your fingers on your shoulders, go for some circles. Imagine you're drawing circles with your elbows. And these can be small circles. If smaller feels better in your shoulders, keep it small. Okay, it doesn't have to be super big. That's it. And one more in this direction, and then we'll reverse the direction. And then just notice how it feels as you're moving. Notice if your head or your neck wants to get involved, and see if you can keep your head still right above the shoulders, letting the neck stay as relaxed as it can. Good. Nice. And then let that go. Shake it out a little bit in the arms. All right, so let's take the arms forward. Let's involve a little bit of movement in the spines. Maybe I'll go back, giving you a little bit of the side view here. So taking your arms straight ahead so the fingertips point forward. As you inhale, let's open up the arms, and as you do that, arch the back, actually lifting your chest and looking up a little bit. And then as you exhale, now you're going to round your back as you hug, taking the hands around to the shoulders, bringing the chin down towards the chest. So each inhale, open up again, looking up. Each exhale, try to wrap the other arm on top as you hug. Breathing in, breathing out. So you're loosening up here into the spine, feeling it arch and round comfortably. As you feel this movement in the arms as well. Good. Last one here. And then inhale, open up the arms again out to the sides. And just try to stay up on your sitting bones. Try to keep your spine up in the center. And then let's cross the right elbow over the left. And then try to bend your bottom elbow so that Your left palm is going to face away from you. Fingertips are pointing up towards the ceiling. And this right arm can bend as well, fingertips pointing up. If the hands can now come together, wrapping the forearms together, go for it. And if that's not happening, don't force it. What matters the most is that elbow, right elbow, is crossed over the bottom one. Okay? And you'll feel some stretch coming into this right shoulder. Okay. So rest that right shoulder blade a little further down the back, away from your ear, so that now you can actually let the head tilt to the left. Okay? So you're letting the head go to the side. That's it. And feel the stretch into the right side of your neck. And just notice the breath there for a couple more cycles. And even while you're here, if you want to just explore very gently any bit of movement in the neck, you can just maybe tiny bit of a lift of the chin or a lowering of the chin. We'll just change the stretch for you in the side of your neck. Good, and then as you breathe in, come back to center, release the arms, give them a little shake. All right, so this time, arms wide again. Cross the left elbow this time over the right, left elbow over the right as you bend your bottom elbow. Now the right palm faces away from you, fingertips towards the ceiling. You can take that left fingers towards the ceiling as well, bending both elbows, keeping them hooked. You might be able to wrap the forearms together on this side. If not, don't force it. So try to notice if the shoulders have kind of hunched up. See if they can move away from your ears, especially that left shoulder. Because what you're going to do is now let the head tilt to the right, away from that left shoulder, and you'll feel more stretch into the left side of your neck now. So again, notice how it feels in this side of the neck. Keeping it a comfortable stretch for it. And just continue to follow and feel a few more breaths. Feeling free to move the head a little to the right or a little to the left. Move the chin slightly up or down, so you just change where it is, where you're feeling the sensation in the neck, going to where you might need the stretch a little more. Good, nice. And then slowly bring your head to center, release the arms, and again, just roll, maybe do a few shoulder rolls, shrugging them up and rolling them back and down a few times. Okay, so from here, take your hands, interlace the fingers together, and then take your palms just to the very back of your head, okay? So you want your hands right at the base of your skull, so not up here by the crown of your head, not down here at the back of your neck, but just at the base of the skull, okay? So as your fingers stay interlaced at the base of the skull, feel your elbows point out to the sides. And then you can gently press the back of your head into your hands, just really gently. You don't want to do this so much that you're ending up clenching the jaw or tensing into the throat. You want to keep it where there's just the slightest bit of pressure of the head moving into the hands. And as you do this, notice if your shoulders have shrugged up towards the ears and see if there's a way for you to relax that tension. As you just sort of lean, really you're just leaning the back of your head into your hands, doing your best not to lift your chin. So you want to try to keep your chin pretty much parallel to the floor. And just notice where you might feel the breath here. Just allow the breath to continue to flow naturally, without any force, without any strain. You might feel a little more opening around the armpits, around the chest, maybe down into the sides of your ribs. Just feel 2 more breaths here as you continue to lean your head back into your hands. Good. And then slowly release the fingers and let that go. Just notice how you feel in your neck. And then often involved in neck and shoulder tension is tension in the wrists and then the forearms. So let's just do a couple of really simple things for the hands and the wrists and the forearms. So just start out with your palms together in front of the heart. And begin keeping your hands touching as much as possible, like the heels of the hands and the fingers. See if you can raise your hands up, drawing your elbows in, and then bring the palms down, gently pressing them together as the elbows move apart. So elbows coming in and up, and then elbows wide, hands going down. So as you're finding this movement in the forearms, in the elbows, and a little through the shoulders, you want to really, though, try to minimize the movement of your neck, so the neck isn't moving, the neck stays right above the shoulders. That's it. And you're also trying to minimize any lift of your shoulders towards the ears. So feeling your collarbones stay nice and wide. That's it. All right, and then the next time you bring your hands down again, keeping the elbows wide, see if you can now turn and point your fingers away from you. They might even turn slightly down towards the floor. And then try to turn your fingers in towards you. And can you do this movement pretty much just from your elbows down? So see if you can feel the movement in your forearms and in your wrists, rather than, I'll show you right now, rather than in your shoulders. Okay, so rather than moving your shoulders in order to move your arms, try not to move the shoulders. See if you can keep them still. Keep the neck relaxed in the center while your wrists and forearms move. And you might not have much of a mobility, much of a range of motion there. So just go to where you go, okay? Notice and feel your own range of motion and keep it up. Keep going within that. Good, nice. And then just take a moment, shake it out a little through the fingers, like you're kind of flinging water from your fingertips, just nice and loose through the wrists, yeah, through the fingers. Okay. And then this next one for the hands is one of my favorites, where you keep the hands touching the entire time. Some part of the hands will remain touching. And again, you were looking to find this movement pretty much just in the forearms, down into the wrists, not a whole lot of movement in the shoulders. We might feel a little bit more movement in this move than we did in the last one. But again, trying to minimize that movement as much as possible through the shoulders, so that you first start out by turning your palms to face away from you. So it's just your index fingers and thumbs touching. And then you're going to bring the backs of the hands together, letting the fingers point away from you, then in towards you, and then up again, and then turn and bring the palms together. So open the palms away from you, let the backs of the hands touch as the fingers point away, down, and in. So really this movement happens a lot more easily the less you think about it, okay? So trying not so much to think about what you're doing and try to let it become more of a fluid, more relaxed movement. And you're trying to keep as much of your hands touching the entire time. If you're quite tight though in the forearms, the front of the forearms here, what you might notice is that the backs of your hands might not want to touch, and that's okay. Okay, so it might just be the backs of the fingers like this, rather than the backs of the hands like this, okay? Just depends how much movement you have in your wrists comfortably, and don't force anything that isn't happening naturally. All right, so we found that movement in one direction. Let's find it in the other direction. So turn your palms to face you like you're opening a book, okay? Looking at your hands, you're going to bring the backs of the hands together, fingers point in and then down and then forward. Palms together again, opening towards you so the backs of the hands can touch as the fingers turn to point away from you again. So once you've found it in that direction, sometimes one direction is a lot easier to find the movement in than the other direction. So just try to keep breathing. Sometimes when we're learning something new, we tend to sort of hold the breath as we concentrate. So just try to keep the breath flowing naturally as you're feeling this movement a couple more times in this direction. So this is really simple, something super simple that you can do at any time throughout your day, especially if you sit at a desk a lot and do a lot of computer work, as we all do these days. All right, nice. And then shake it out, and shake it out in the whole arms, the shoulders, the wrists, the elbows. Getting some movement happening first in the spine now, so involving a little more movement through the ribs and the spine. So start with your fingers again, touching your shoulders. Elbows can either point out if that's comfortable, or just let them rest in a little closer to your sides, okay? So first of all, feel and find your sitting bones again, resting into the support under you, so that you can imagine the crown of your head lifting towards the ceiling, not the chin. So try to keep the chin parallel to the floor, head back so that the ears are above your shoulders. And then from here, go over to one side, and then over to the other side. And what you're trying to do is find a side bending movement through your spine. So you're basically bringing one shoulder down towards that same hip, and then the other shoulder down towards the same hip. That's it. And you're just allowing the head to follow this movement. So try not to let the head lead the movement, and instead feel like you're moving right at the waist here, right at the bottom of your ribs. You're just sort of shortening each side of your waist as you go left to right. Side bending. Feel the breath as you're moving. Going at your own pace. You can keep it a little slower, you can speed it up, but just basically trying to keep your head and your chest and your belly facing straight ahead. That's it. And then come back up to center and release the arms. Okay. And then from here, bend the elbows. So you've got your elbows bent in close to your sides, a nice gentle fist with your hands. And then just begin to do little twists. So turning, for the most part, feeling again this turn through your waist. So it's like your rib cage turns in one direction and then in the other direction. And if it's comfortable, you can let your head follow this little bit of a twist. But if that ends up bringing you dizziness, then feel free to just keep the head more in the center and just move through the chest. And you can let the arms swing a little more. So it's like running, but where you're moving, running quickly, letting the upper body twist, letting the arms cross a little bit in front of you. That's it. Swinging the arms a little bit, but keeping the elbows bent. And just freeing up generally into the sides and into the upper back. And feeling a couple more here. All right, and then come back to center. Nice. So let's end with a breathing exercise where we're going to breathe into the sides, then we're going to breathe into the back, and then into the front of the chest. So let's start with the right hand on the right side of your ribs. You can take your left hand onto the floor or another block or something beside you if the floor kind of feels too far away. So what you're going to do is side bend to the left with your hand resting at wherever it can comfortably land. So I've got my hand just on the side of my lower ribs. And you can let your head follow this gentle side bending movement through your spine. You're supporting yourself with your left hand. And with a little more space now in that right side, you might be able to feel the movement of the breath a little better. So just try to allow the breath to continue to move without any force, without any strain once again. And notice whether you can feel much movement through your hand. Notice how your ribs might move with your inhale. And notice how your ribs move with your exhale. Good, and then slowly come on back up to center and just take a moment to rest in the center and just notice how each side feels. Take a couple breaths there. And then we'll take it to the other side, so you can bring your support, if you're using it, over to your right side, leaning over to the right, keeping your belly, your chest, your head facing forward. Your left hand can rest on that outer left rib cage. So you can also, if your hand just lands, more comfortably on your waist, let it be there. If it's not going up without discomfort in the shoulder, don't force it. Okay, so just somewhere on your side body is fine. Notice how it feels on this side. This side could feel, maybe you feel your breath easier on this side. Maybe the breath doesn't quite move as easily, as much. So just notice how much or how little movement you feel as you breathe here. Okay, and then come back to center. Nice. And then from here, interlace the fingers together again. And what you're going to do is simply take your arms up to about chest height. And as your knuckles reach forward, you're going to push back with your upper back. So what you're looking for is not a shrug of your shoulders towards the ears. So notice if that's happened and rest them down again. And you're looking more for space between your shoulder blades at the back. So feel your shoulder blades spreading away from each other. That's it. And you can let the head release forward, just comfortably. That's it. So you might get some stretch in the back of the neck, but as you're pushing forward through your knuckles, you're pushing back through your upper back and feeling the breath in that space. Good, and then nice and slowly lower the arms and lift the head. And then last one here to get into the front of the chest a little more. And this is an area that many of us tend to sort of close off to protect, right? So this is a way to open it up, and I've kept it to the last one so that we're ready for it. We've opened up other areas around the back, around the neck, around the shoulders. So now let's open up across the front of the chest, stretching some of those tighter muscles in the chest and in the front of the shoulders. So interlace your fingers together behind your back. And this action alone can bring a little more stretch, of course, into the fronts of the shoulders and into the chest. So what you want to do first is try not to push your lower ribs forward. So notice if that's happened and see if you can hug your lower ribs in a little more towards the spine. Yep. So that they stay right above your hips. That's what we're looking for. Just keeping the ribs in the center along with your head. And with your fingers interlaced, try not to lock the elbows. See if you can keep them a little bent. And maybe the arms can reach a little further away from your back. And at the same time, try to feel like your fingers reach back and down away from your shoulders. So the arms are stretching away from the shoulders and away from the back. And then you can kind of push the chest sort of up and forward. Try not to push the lower ribs with it. I know it's tricky to differentiate that movement. All right. So now you can let your head go a little forward here again and feel like your chin, as it rests towards the chest, your chest is lifting towards the chin. That's it. And feel the breath right here. Notice where it moves. And just try to let the breath move without, again, any sense of strain. Let it remain as natural as possible in this position. Good. And then keeping the arms like this, let's just for a moment lift the head, lengthen through the back of the neck, lift the chin, and try to stretch a little through the front of your throat, keeping it comfortable in the back of your neck always. Be here for one more breath. It might be quite intense. Just be where you can be without too much tension. All right. And then release the hands. Release them on your thighs. And just close your eyes for a moment. Close your eyes and feel the effects of that practice, both in your shoulders and in your neck, as well as around the chest, around the heart, around the lungs. You might feel a new sense of space all around the whole circumference of your rib cage, in the sides of your ribs, and even around to the backs of your lungs, the backs of your ribs. And just as you sit here, keep following each breath. Let it come in and let it flow out. Feeling free to spend a few more moments here just to feel the effects of this practice. From there, you can let the eyes open and bring the hands together in front of the heart. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful rest of your day.